this, you know, specifically what kind of show I want to be working on, how I want it to feel, and what kind of people I want to be working with. And so this show definitely has spoiled me and set a precedent for what my expectation is around treatment for Black women on set. And Tracy and the rest of the producers are really adamant about us getting our needs met and making sure that the work environment feels like a place where we can flourish and prosper, which is why you get to see what you get to see on screen, which is like an authentic connection between 4 people, which extends to 6 people, which then extends to everybody who comes to play with us. And when we have co-stars, our brilliant co-stars, and they come and they're like, this is so much fun, this is the most fun that I've had on set, it's not like a frivolous thing, right? We've created a culture of play. And so not only is Ty being this androgynous queer woman who owns a tech company, which the layers in that, Black woman owning a company and being queer, and just how we are in the age of tech and what that means, and the inspiration that will give for Black women to pursue a career in tech. I think that this is, for me, this was the perfect moment for it to come, but it's also the divine moment, right? Like it's not something that just happened. It's something that, even though I am new in my career, you know, I've been acting since I was in high school, you know, and in the training, and so I feel blessed to have this, and I know that this is divine intervention. You know, God had His hand all the way up and through this.
Absolutely, yes. Now I'm just really so grateful for the Black women in leadership on set. Like, I've never been able to go on a set and see the heads of so many departments and so many producers and so many writers that are Black women. And also just like to think about the character. I've been asked to play like character types of Angie. Like just the funny Black woman, but we don't get to see her in her fullness. We don't get to see her desires, her wants, her fears. She's not a complete human being. She's in for the joke for a moment and then you dip out. And so I'm so grateful for right now to show this woman on screen who is curvy and vivacious and colorful, but also hurts and has fears and has things that she wants for her life, and she has dreams, and she's a full-fledged human being. And also what I love so much about the show is that these women don't have to be perfect. We don't, and usually when there's like a limited amount of space in the arena, you are dealt with the pressure of having to teach people what Blackness is, so you have to be as perfect and as excellent as possible. But I'm so grateful right now that we are in a time right now where there's so many spaces for us, so now we get to just be human beings. We don't have to be this like overly excellent thing. We can just see Black people living, or Black people making mistakes in love and in career, and I think that's a privilege that we have not had at all in screen. So I'm so grateful for Miss Tracy Oliver showing it the flaws of our human being in all capacities. We get to mess up in relationships. We get to fall on our face in job and also mess up as friends, which is so genuine and a genuine reflection of what it is to be human. I love seeing Black women getting to be human on screen.
Camille has been a dream come true for me. You know, I've been in the business for a long time. And you know, throughout my 20s, I kind of got pigeonholed in playing a certain kind of character, which was fun at that time, and then making that transition into my 30s and getting people to see me differently. And crazy thing is, Camille is a lot more like me in real life. And so it's been fun to play someone that's quirky and awkward and tells terrible jokes and like, you know, and is overconfident but still insecure, and someone who knows exactly what she's doing and then always second guessing herself, you know. And so for me, when I read the characters on the page, I was like, wow, they're so fully formed and they're so full, right? So full, and and then just the world, you know, that Tracy created is been really unique for me and one of the best experiences of my entire career. And yeah,
Created, but we don't see how this fits on TV. There's no audience for it. There's no audience for Black women in this space. And that was really disheartening because I've always believed that that's not true. Even before Girls Trip came and proved that to not be true, I knew that. So when people were like, were you surprised by the success of Girls Trip? I'm like, no. I'm happy about it. I didn't think we were going to make 150 million. I'll say that. I didn't think it was going to go that far, but I also thought if I can watch white women and laugh and enjoy it, why can't white people or anybody outside of Black culture watch us? We're human beings too. Why can't we just be human beings and you enjoy our content? And I always felt like humanity was better than how the industry portrayed humanity to be. I really did. And with Harlem, luckily the weekend that Girls Trip like opened to like $30 million, I was like, now let's go. I was like, now I have my own thing to point to. Yeah. And I'm grateful because I've heard of a lot of other writers now being able to point to Harlem or be able to point to Girls Trip to sell their stuff. Okay. So you need creators to kind of break down these barriers for people to even buy your stuff and to take you seriously. So for me, I had to use my own success to circle back to get Harlem done. But Harlem, for me, was more personal than Girls Trip because it was my actual age group and more of my like personal experience of living in New York. And you know, I love Girls Trip, but they were outside of my age range, and it was, you know, just something that I had to concoct. But this was coming from like a more personal, real place for me. And yeah, to be able to use Girls Trip and circle back to something that was personal was a blessing. And then Prime, it was just the perfect home for it because at that time, now you guys, I mean, we started out seeing all of that diversity on that ad, but when I was taking the meeting, that hadn't happened yet. And they wanted it. And so my concern, and I'm just gonna be candid, I said, it's very white on Amazon right now. How could Harlem work? And they said, we want you to help change that. And that's what sold me because I wanted to be part of the shift and I wanted to stand out and I wanted to make an impact. And it's really cool because I've had Prime for forever for like, the 2-day shipping. And so to now, while I'm buying useless shit online, to see like these beautiful Black women like on it, I'm like, yo, this is dope. Yeah. So it's just kind of powerful because it's an international brand and it's huge. And they made good on their promise to put it front and center. And they plastered these beautiful melanated goddesses all over New York. Yes. They really did. Yeah. They made sure they were seen, they made sure it was on the homepage, and they lived up to every single promise that they gave me in the beginning, and not everybody does that, but they invested in it, and they know the importance of the show. So that's why I'm really grateful about Prime too.
Thank you for that. Thank you. As an extension of that, I want to ask, because I feel like looking at the series, it really does feel like a representation that the era of the token Black girl, like it's done. It almost feels like Rihanna put out her Fenty shades, and now you can't drop a line with not having enough coverage. You can't have a show anymore with just one Black girl with certain humor, certain size. And I think most importantly, they don't fit into certain tropes or stereotypes, which we see creators, sometimes even of color, still fall into, even with their best efforts. What's the secret of you all getting it right?
I mean, I think it's a lot of different things. For one, it's Tracy. For two, it's the writer's room, it's the producers, it's everybody is collective and thoughtful about the storylines, and sometimes they'll even come to us and talk to us and say, hey, do you think this is realistic, or whatever it may be. And then for us, it's just about bringing the characters to life and making sure that they're living, breathing, feeling that we're in tune with everything that they're experiencing in the most authentic way. And then also, there's a part of it that just is authentic, being a woman, and authentic being a Black woman. And so I think a big part of it is everything coming together and helping us really build the characters.
I have to jump in and say this because, and you already know what I'm going to say, but the chemistry, when you do a friendship thing, it all falls apart if the chemistry's not together. And when I first saw them read, I was like, this is kind of magical because it was like built-in diversity. It really was. I didn't manufacture it. You know, Jerry's like an Amazon when you're like 6'8" or something, and queer, and I was like, we're never gonna be able to cast this character, and she walked in, and I think you just moved to LA too, so that's why I was like, it is divine timing. Because you can't just find people like that.
You can't manufacture this.
And just, yeah, it was just a unicorn. And then when Shaniqua came in too, I was just like, wow, she's beautiful, but I don't know anybody that looks like her. And I get what to do with her. Because not everybody is gonna know what to do with that look and that beauty and that personality. And she's just as zany in life as she is on screen. And then with Meagan, you know, I've been watching Meagan my whole life, basically. And I didn't actually see, like, Meagan embodying the role, and then when we sat down in person, that's when I was like, oh, she's not this sex kitten and like impossibly like gorgeous woman. And she's still all of that. But she's also the sweetest, like really just humble and nice and genuine and like wanting the best for people. And that's what she brought to set every day. She really did. Like, she nurtures the cast. The reason why the cast and the crew love the show, it starts with the number one on the call sheet, Meagan, because she treats everybody with kindness and love and generosity. And I think that, you know, has created an environment that everyone loves to be in her energy, and that sisterhood and that chemistry is real because she genuinely looks out for them like they're her sisters, and they do the same for her. And I feel the same about all of them. So the words on the page are not enough. It's also how you treat people and the vibe that you create, and wanting to be around each other and wanting to root for each other. And we've all had highs and lows going through this show, and we've been there for each other in real life as well. So I think some of the magic is just real life.
Yeah. And I love what you said about Jerry. I want to start getting into individual characters. You know, Ty, I feel like we have never seen her before, and as you mentioned when you started, you know, the layers there. She's not this one-dimensional, you know, character that checks a box that we see in so many series. What response have you got from viewers about your role and its significance and what it means to them?
I think the obvious thing is, right, like a lot of queer black women being like, wow, I've never seen this and this kind of nuance, because actually before even auditioning for the show, like I'm like a nigga on the inside, right? So I was like a little bit more visually dainty, and when I read the script, I'm like, oh no, Tarzan! There we go. So I came with my beanie on, a queer character that's not like stuck in, like it's not like so hyper masculine that she disconnects from her feminine energy, but also not so hyper feminine that it's like sometimes like there's this like aloofness that comes with feminine queer characters. And so I feel like black queer women feel like, wow, I get to see myself. Then there's another container of black queer professional women who are like, yeah, I never see like black queer women in business, and also in business at the forefront, right? Not the co-star that we see 3 episodes out of the season and she's a bomb-ass queer woman, and like when we need her she's used, but when she's not, then that's it. But then there's another layer of the women who have fibroid issues, women who were trying to like have kids and all of these like women. But historically, like slave women and children were used to create what we now know as gynecology and whatever the brain surgery shit is, you know what I mean? Gruesome things were done to black women. And so there was never a moment, right, when people were freed where it was like, okay, can we all acknowledge that this was wrong? And there was still in medical books like research that time the sex scene happens and it's like, okay, girl.
Every single time, like it's just not necessary. But with this show, like they just don't waste any moment. Everything is you're gonna get. They're constantly feeding you, and so that's what I love so much. And you know, the writers are incredible.
Yeah, I just want to add to that because I think piggybacking off of what you said, it doesn't feel like we're doing a sex scene just to do it. It feels like we are showing these women in the fullness of their lives, and sex is a part of the fullness of their lives. So it never feels out of place. It feels like it just is all part of each other.
Absolutely. Well, wrapping up, you know, I think overall what I love so much is that these women are still light, you know, even as they're exploring, you know, really heavy moments in their lives. And we all know there's this narrative, you know, when you're in your 30s, you know, you're supposed to have it all figured out, you know, and, you know, not only that, but you can't afford to make mistakes anymore at this big age, you know, allegedly. And if something hasn't happened yet, it's not going to. And we see with these women, you know, that's not true. You can do a texty backseat maybe, possibly, but I'm curious, you know, for any of you, has playing these characters help you get rid of any of those beliefs you might have been holding to, you know, for yourselves?
Well,
everyone has to check out the show, and then hopefully it'll get greenlit. But I did want to add that I do think the world is really unkind to women as we age. I really do. And so part of why I write about women and that I advocate for all types of body types, complexions, whatever, I just am really rooting for us, because I think there's this message that as we age, we become less here does either, and that's real life, and that's okay, and we should celebrate that and embrace it. And also, I think it gives women an opportunity to continue their careers when I write for them too. And I think that a lot of male creators, and no shade to the men, because it's not all men, but you know, men also cast younger and cast skinnier and cast, you know, different textures and lighter skin, and I try to fight really hard against that, because women do need allies and we need to support each other, and that's the only way I think society is going to change, if we start changing things on screen. You know, it's representation, but I really do fight against that, and I'm so adamant about celebrating womanhood and continuing to celebrate us no matter what age we are. So
thank you. I want to thank you all for being here, for sharing with us today. Shout out Grace Myers. She couldn't be here. She sent her love. We're sending her love back. But thank you all. Tune in. Season 2, Episode 1 drops on February 11th on Prime Video.